My name is Richard Walker. I'm 63 years old. 3 days after my daughter's wedding, I quietly moved $9 million into a private family trust. Not because I didn't love my daughter, but because I had finally realized something that took me over 30 years to admit. Sometimes, the people who smile the biggest at your dinner table are the same people waiting for you to die. If you've ever been treated like nothing more than an ATM by your own family, stay with me. Because what happened after my daughter got married changed every relationship in my life forever. My wife, Sarah, passed away 7 years ago. Cancer. She fought harder than anyone I've ever known. Before she died, she held my hand and whispered, "Promise me one thing. Don't let money destroy our family." At that moment, I honestly believed that promise would be easy to keep. I had no idea. Money wasn't going to destroy my family. Greed was. Our daughter, Olivia, had always been charming. Everyone loved her. She knew exactly what to say, exactly when to smile, exactly how to make people believe she cared. Maybe she did, or maybe she only cared when she needed something. Back then, I couldn't tell the difference. Then Ethan came into her life. Perfect haircut, perfect suit, perfect manners, the kind of young man every father hopes his daughter marries. He called me Sir, opened doors for people, never forgot birthdays. Everyone said, "Richard, your daughter found a wonderful husband." I wanted to believe them. I really did. Their wedding was beautiful, not extravagant, just elegant. A small vineyard ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. I even paid for nearly half the wedding expenses. Not because Olivia asked, because I wanted her to have a day she would remember forever. When she hugged me after the ceremony, she whispered, "Thank you, Dad." For one brief moment, I thought every sacrifice had been worth it. I wish that moment had lasted longer. 2 weeks later, I received a phone call. "Dad." Olivia sounded unusually sweet. "Can Ethan and I come over tonight?" "Of course. I made your favorite apple pie." She laughed. "We'll bring dessert." After hanging up, I smiled. Maybe they simply wanted to spend time together. Maybe they missed me. I couldn't have been more wrong. That evening, they arrived carrying pie, flowers, and smiles that felt just a little too perfect. During dinner, they barely touched their food. Instead, they kept complimenting the house, the neighborhood, even my old pickup truck. Ethan suddenly looked around the dining room and said, "You've built an amazing life, Richard." It was the first time he had ever called me Richard instead of Dad. I noticed it immediately, but I said nothing because something deep inside me whispered, "This dinner isn't about family. It's about money." I quietly picked up my coffee. No one spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt rehearsed, almost as if both of them had practiced this conversation on the drive over. Then Ethan smiled. "Richard? We've been talking about our future." I nodded. "That's good." Olivia leaned forward. "We want to buy our dream house." I smiled politely. "Congratulations. Houses are wonderful investments." For a second, neither of them answered. Instead, they looked at each other. That was the moment I realized. The house wasn't the real topic. I was. Ethan cleared his throat. "The problem is, the bank isn't approving the amount we need." Olivia quickly added, "It's just because we're newly married." "We'll qualify in a year or two." I quietly asked, "So what's your plan?" She reached across the table and gently placed her hand over mine. "Dad, we were hoping you could help us." There it was, the real reason for dinner. "How much?" The room became completely silent. Olivia looked down. Ethan answered instead, $400,000. For a moment, I honestly thought I had heard him wrong. I almost laughed. Then I realized he was serious. $400,000. Not a loan application. Not a business proposal. Just a request. I looked at Olivia. She couldn't even meet my eyes. Instead, she quietly said, "It's not really spending. It's investing in our future." I had heard those exact words before, 25 years earlier, when my younger brother borrowed $200,000 to start a company. He never paid back a single cent. Family has a strange way of calling expensive mistakes investments, I asked as calmly as I could. "What happened to your savings?" Olivia answered almost immediately. "We used most of it for the wedding," Ethan added, "and furniture, and closing costs, and unexpected expenses." Funny thing was, I knew exactly what that wedding had cost, because I had personally written most of the checks. Their explanation didn't make sense, but I wasn't interested in arguing. Not yet. Instead, I leaned back in my chair. "I'll think about it." The words had barely left my mouth when Olivia smiled with obvious relief. "I knew you wouldn't let us down." Not, "Thank you." Not, "We appreciate you." Just, "I knew you wouldn't let us down." As if saying no was never supposed to be an option. After they left, I didn't turn on the television. I didn't wash the dishes. I simply sat alone in the dark living room. Then, I opened the old wooden box Sarah had left me before she passed away. Inside were dozens of photographs, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, Olivia's first bicycle, our family vacations. On top of everything was a handwritten note from Sarah. It read, "Teach her to earn respect, not just expect love." I stared at those words for several minutes. Then I quietly whispered, "I think I failed." At that exact moment, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. What I read made my blood run cold. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. At first, I almost ignored it, but something told me, read it. So I did. The message was only one sentence. "Don't give Olivia the money until you know what Ethan is hiding." No name, no explanation, nothing. Just that. I stared at the screen for nearly a minute. Who would send something like that? And more importantly, why? I tried calling the number. "The number you have dialed is unavailable." I sent a reply. "Who is this?" No answer. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Nothing. Finally, I locked my phone. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone was trying to cause trouble. Still, the message stayed in my mind all night. The next morning, I decided to visit my oldest friend, Michael. We had known each other for over 40 years. He had been a lawyer before retiring. More importantly, he was one of the few people who would tell me the truth, even if I didn't want to hear it. After listening carefully, he folded his arms. "Richard, before you give anyone $400,000, do some homework." I frowned. "You think I'm overreacting?" He slowly shook his head. "No. I think you're finally asking the right questions." On my way home, I couldn't stop thinking. Why did Ethan suddenly need so much money? He had a good job. Olivia worked too. Their wedding wasn't extravagant. Something didn't add up. For the first time, I decided not to trust my emotions. I decided to trust the facts. 2 days later, I invited Olivia to lunch. She came alone. Ethan was busy at work. After we ordered our food, I smiled. "So, tell me about the house." Her face immediately lit up. She pulled out her phone. "It's beautiful. 4 bedrooms, a swimming pool, a private office." As she scrolled through the pictures, I casually asked, "How much does Ethan still owe on his student loans?" Her smile disappeared. She blinked. I'm not sure." "What do you mean you're not sure?" "You're married." She looked uncomfortable. "Ethan handles all the finances." That sentence hit me harder than I expected. I changed the subject, but inside, Something felt wrong. Very wrong. That evening, Michael called me. His voice sounded serious. "Richard, I checked something for you." "What did you find?" There was a long silence. Then he quietly said, "I think you need to see Ethan's business records. What I found doesn't match the story he told your daughter." At that moment, I realized the mysterious text message might have been trying to protect me. The next morning, I met Michael at his office. He didn't say a word at first. Instead, he slid a thin folder across the table. "Read it." I opened it. Inside were public business records, loan documents, court filings. Everything was legal. Everything was public. But no one had bothered to look. My eyes stopped on one number: $387,000. Outstanding business debt. I looked up. "What is this?" Michael sighed. "Ethan started a real estate investment company 2 years ago. It failed. He borrowed heavily. And according to these records, he's months behind on several payments." I couldn't believe what I was reading. "He never mentioned any business." Michael looked straight at me. "That's because he doesn't want your daughter asking questions." I drove home in complete silence. $400,000. It wasn't for a house. It was almost the exact amount of his debt. Everything suddenly made sense. The dream house, the emotional dinner, the compliments, the pie. None of it had been about me. It had all been about saving Ethan. That evening, Olivia called. "Dad, have you thought about it?" I took a deep breath. "I have." There was excitement in her voice. "So, I have a few questions first." She hesitated. "What kind of questions?" "Questions about Ethan's business." The line went completely silent. For nearly 10 seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she quietly asked, "Who told you?" That answer shocked me. She didn't say, "What business?" She didn't deny it. She simply wanted to know who had exposed it. I closed my eyes. "So, you knew." Her voice became almost a whisper. "I was going to tell you." "When?" Another silence. Then she softly said, "After you transferred the money." My heart sank. Not because of the money, but because my own daughter had admitted she planned to tell me the truth only after getting it. Before I could answer, someone grabbed the phone from her. It was Ethan. His calm voice had completely disappeared. "Richard, you've been spying on us?" I remained calm. "No, I've been protecting myself." He laughed sarcastically. "So that's it?" "You don't trust family?" I answered quietly. "Trust isn't something you demand. It's something you earn." He hung up immediately. Less than 5 minutes later, my front doorbell rang. I looked through the window. Olivia was standing outside, alone, crying. But I had no idea whether those tears were for her father or for the $400,000 she had just lost. I opened the door. Olivia stood there. Her mascara had run down her cheeks. She looked exhausted. For a second, I saw the little girl who used to run into my arms after falling off her bicycle. But then I remembered. She wasn't here because she missed her father. She was here because she needed something. Again. "Dad, can I come in?" I stepped aside, without saying a word. She sat on the living room couch, holding a tissue in both hands. For almost a full minute, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked at her. "What exactly are you sorry for?" She lowered her head. "For everything." I waited. She said nothing else. "You knew about Ethan's debt?" She nodded. "Yes." "You knew the money wasn't for a house?" Another nod. Tears rolled down her face. I was scared. I quietly asked, "Scared of what?" "Losing him." She wiped her eyes. "He told me if we didn't pay the debt, We could lose everything. He said once the business recovered, we'd pay you back. I asked one simple question. Did you actually believe that? She couldn't answer, because deep down, she already knew the truth. Just then, my phone rang. It was Michael. "Richard, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I just received another document. It changes everything." My heart started racing. "What did you find?" His voice became serious. "Ethan didn't just hide debt. He's hiding another loan, a very large one. Signed, only 3 days after the wedding." I froze. "How much?" Michael answered quietly. $1.2 million. I slowly looked toward Olivia. She had heard every word. Her face turned completely white. She whispered, "That's impossible. He told me he wasn't borrowing anymore." Michael continued, "Richard, I don't think your daughter knows what her husband has really been doing." After ending the call, I looked at Olivia. She was shaking. Then, for the first time that evening, I believed her tears were real. Because she had just discovered. She hadn't only lied to her father, she had also been lied to by her own husband. And neither of us knew that Ethan was already on his way to my house. The doorbell rang. 3 loud knocks. Not nervous, not hesitant, confident, almost aggressive. Olivia looked toward the door, then back at me, her face filled with panic. "That's Ethan!" I slowly stood up, opened the door. There he was, perfect suit, perfect smile. But his eyes were full of anger. "Richard, I think we need to talk." I stepped aside. "Come in." The moment he walked inside, he noticed Olivia crying. His expression changed instantly. He forced a smile. "Baby, what happened?" Before she could answer, I spoke first. "I know about the debt." The smile disappeared. For several seconds, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Finally, Ethan laughed. "You hired someone to investigate me?" I calmly replied. "No, I simply decided to ask questions." He folded his arms. "So what? Every businessman has debt. That's normal." I nodded. "It is, but lying about it isn't." His voice suddenly became louder. "I wasn't lying. I was protecting my family." I looked directly into his eyes. "No, you were protecting yourself," Olivia quietly whispered. "Ethan, what's the $1.2 million loan?" The room went completely silent. He slowly turned toward her. His confident expression vanished. "What?" she repeated. "The loan. The one you signed after our wedding." His face turned pale. For the first time, he couldn't think of an answer. Instead, he looked at me. "You've poisoned her against me." I shook my head. "The documents did that." Olivia stood up. Her hands were shaking. "You told me. We only had one business loan. You promised me." Ethan tried to take her hand. She stepped backward. "No. Answer me. How much debt do we actually have?" He closed his eyes, then quietly admitted, "Almost. 1.6 million. Olivia looked like someone had knocked the air out of her lungs. She whispered, "You lied to me." He immediately replied, "I was going to fix it." She laughed through her tears. "With my father's money?" He said nothing, because that was exactly the plan. I walked toward the bookshelf, opened a drawer, and placed a thick envelope on the table. Ethan looked at it. His eyes lit up. For a brief moment, he thought it was a check. Instead, it was a copy of the family trust. I slid it toward him. "You should read page 7. He opened it. His face changed instantly. The document clearly stated, "Any person who pressured, manipulated, or attempted to obtain money through deception would receive absolutely nothing from my estate. For the first time since entering my house, Ethan had absolutely nothing to say. Ethan stared at the document. Then he slammed it onto the table. "This is ridiculous. You actually planned for something like this?" I calmly answered. "No. My father did. I simply listened to his advice." He laughed bitterly. "So, that's it? You'd rather watch your daughter lose everything than help her?" Before I could answer, Olivia spoke. "No. He's trying to save me." Ethan slowly turned toward her. "What did you just say?" She looked him straight in the eyes. "For the first time, I think my dad is trying to protect me. From you." His face became red with anger. "You've changed." Olivia quietly replied, "No. I've finally opened my eyes." Ethan suddenly pointed at me. "You've turned her against her own husband." I shook my head. "I didn't. The truth did." For nearly a minute, nobody spoke. Then Ethan grabbed his car keys. He looked at Olivia. "Are you coming?" She didn't move. He asked again. "Olivia?" Tears rolled down her face, but this time, she slowly shook her head. "No." That single word destroyed everything he had planned. He stormed toward the door. Before leaving, he turned around one last time. "You'll regret this," I answered without raising my voice. "No. I already regret trusting you." He slammed the door so hard, the family photographs on the wall shook. The house became completely silent. Olivia collapsed onto the couch. She cried harder than I had ever seen, not because she had lost money, but because she had realized the man she defended had been using her from the very beginning. An hour later, she quietly asked, "Dad, can I stay here tonight?" I smiled gently. "This will always be your home." She hugged me tightly, just like she used to. When she was a little girl, for the first time in years, it wasn't a hug asking for something. It was a hug asking for forgiveness. But neither of us knew that the next morning, 2 police detectives would knock on my front door, asking one shocking question. "Mr. Richard, do you know where Ethan Collins is?" The next morning, at exactly 8:12 a.m. The doorbell rang. 3 calm knocks, nothing like Ethan's. I opened the door. 2 detectives stood outside, one older, one younger. The older detective showed his badge. "Mr. Richard Carter?" "Yes." "I'm Detective Harris. This is Detective Lopez. We'd like to ask you a few questions about your son-in-law." "Ethan Collins." Olivia walked into the hallway. The moment she heard Ethan's name, her face turned white again. Detective Harris noticed immediately. "I'm sorry. Is Mrs. Collins here?" Olivia nodded. "Yes." "I'm Olivia." The detective looked at both of us. "Would it be all right if we came inside?" A few minutes later, we were sitting in the living room. Detective Harris opened a folder. "We're investigating a financial fraud case." My stomach tightened. "What kind of fraud?" He looked directly at me. "Investment fraud. Our investigation suggests Ethan convinced several people to invest in fake real estate projects." Olivia immediately shook her head. "No, that can't be true. He owns a real estate company." The detective sighed. "He owns the company. That part is true. But according to our evidence, there were never any properties." The room became completely silent. Detective Lopez placed several photographs on the coffee table. Each one showed a different family. Older couples, young investors, retired teachers, a veteran, all smiling, all holding paperwork. These people invested everything they had. Some lost their retirement. Some lost their homes. Olivia covered her mouth. "Oh my God," the detective continued. "We believe your husband owes more than 30 victims. The losses exceed $5 million. $5 million. I couldn't even process the number. Then Detective Harris asked the question that changed everything. "Did Ethan ever ask you for money?" I slowly nodded. $400,000. The detectives looked at each other. The older detective quietly said, "We were afraid of that." He took out another document. "If you had given him that money, it almost certainly would have disappeared. It wouldn't have gone toward a house. It would have been used to keep the fraud going." I looked toward Olivia. She had completely broken down. She wasn't crying because of the money anymore. She was crying because she realized she had unknowingly helped convince her own father to finance a criminal. Just then, Detective Lopez's phone rang. He answered, listened, then looked at his partner. "We found him." Detective Harris stood up immediately. Before leaving, he turned toward us. "If Ethan contacts either of you, don't meet him. Call us immediately." They walked out the front door. The police cars pulled away with their lights flashing. Olivia whispered, "Dad, where is he going?" I looked out the window and quietly replied, "I think he's running." 3 days passed. No calls, no messages, nothing. It was as if Ethan had disappeared. Olivia barely left the guest room. She hardly ate. She barely slept. Every few hours, she whispered the same sentence. "I should have listened to you." I never answered, because guilt was already punishing her enough. On the 4th morning, my phone rang. "Detective Harris, we found Ethan." I stood up immediately. "Where?" "He was trying to board a flight to the Cayman Islands. They arrested him at the airport." I closed my eyes. It was over, or so I thought. An hour later, the news was everywhere. Local businessman arrested in multi-million-dollar investment fraud. Television, newspapers, social media. His photograph was everywhere. Olivia stared silently at the screen. Then she quietly said, "I married a stranger." That afternoon, someone knocked on my front door. When I opened it, an elderly woman stood there. She looked exhausted. Her hands trembled as she held a small envelope. "Are you Richard Walker?" "Yes," she smiled sadly. "My husband and I invested our retirement with Ethan. He always talked about you. He said, 'My father-in-law is wealthy. If anything ever goes wrong, he'll make sure everyone gets paid.'" I felt my heart sink. He had been using my name to gain people's trust without me ever knowing. The woman handed me the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from her husband. It read, "We believed him because he spoke about family, honesty, and values. We never imagined it was all a lie." When I finished reading, I couldn't speak. Olivia broke down in tears. She walked over to the woman. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." The elderly woman gently held Olivia's hands. "I believe you, but please, don't spend the rest of your life blaming yourself. Spend it becoming the person he never was." Those words changed something inside Olivia. For the first time, she stopped crying. That evening, she came to my study. "Dad, I don't want your money. I don't deserve it." I looked at her and smiled gently. This was never about money. It was about trust. She nodded. "I know, and I want to earn yours back." For the first time in a long time, I believed her, but neither of us knew. The biggest surprise of all was waiting inside my father's old safety deposit box. The next morning, I drove to the bank alone. In my hand, I held the small brass key my father had given me years ago. He had smiled and said, "One day, you'll know when to use it." I never imagined that day would come after losing almost everything I believed about my family. The bank manager escorted me into the vault. A small steel box sat on the table. "Safety Deposit Box 214. I unlocked it slowly. Inside, there were only 3 things: a leather notebook, a sealed envelope with my name, and a small velvet box. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. It was my father's handwriting. He had written it nearly 20 years earlier. "Richard, if you're reading this, it means life has forced you to make a difficult choice. Always remember, money never destroys families. Greed does." I stopped reading, my eyes filled with tears. Inside the velvet box was my mother's wedding ring, the ring she had asked to be buried with. Instead, my father had secretly kept it. Attached to it was a tiny note. "Give this only to the family member who proves that love is worth more than money." I smiled through my tears. I already knew who deserved it. That evening, I called Olivia into the living room. She looked nervous. "Dad, did something happen?" I handed her the velvet box. She slowly opened it. The moment she saw the ring, she burst into tears. "I don't deserve this." I gently shook my head. "No, you didn't. But you've spent the last 6 months proving that people can change." She hugged me tightly, not because of the ring, not because of the inheritance, but because, for the first time since she was a little girl, she felt like she had her father back. 6 months later, Ethan stood in court. He was sentenced to prison for multiple counts of fraud. Dozens of victims finally received justice, not because of me, but because they refused to stay silent. As for the $9 million, most people expected me to keep it. Instead, I created a family foundation in my parents' name. It paid college tuition for students who couldn't afford it, helped widows keep their homes, and supported elderly couples who had lost their retirement savings. Every dollar went toward helping honest people build a better future. Sometimes, the greatest inheritance isn't money. It's the wisdom to know who should never control it. If my father taught me one lesson, it was this: never let guilt decide where your money goes. Let character decide.